Well, good afternoon. This is Charles Harvey, candidate for President of the United States, the year 2012. I went to a play last night, and while I was there talking with friends, and I handed one of my cards that said Charles Harvey for President, and the shock on their face, I could read their minds like, who are you? Who's Charles Harvey? You're not famous. I haven't seen you on TV. You don't have a lot of money. Are you nuts? And of course, I'm not crazy. I'm just following the Constitution. Age and citizen requirements of the U.S. Constitution, Article 2, Section 1, says no person excepting natural born citizen, which I am, or a citizen of the United States, at the time of the adoption of this Constitution, which I am, shall be eligible to the office of President. Neither shall any person be eligible to that office who shall not have attained the age of 35 years. I qualify there. And been 14 years a resident within the United States. And I've qualified there all my life. So I find it very interesting that if you're not a governor or an actor, congressman, senator, former politician, military officer, how can you possibly even think of being the United States, president? Well, it's amazing. They do say anybody can be run for president, anybody with money, that is. And that's very true. In 2008, the campaign was the costliest in history, record-shattering $5.3 billion in spending by candidates, political parties, interest groups on the congressional and presidential race. Barack Obama presidential campaign raised $454 million by September 2008 and spent over $16 million online advertising alone. It cost over $300 million to run a real presidential campaign, they say. In 2004 election, George W. Bush spent $345,259,155. Now, my cost right now is averaging, with my web pages and everything, about $43 a month. So for a couple of years, probably the total cost will be under $1,000 leading up to the actual election day. $1,000. Can you imagine that? No interest groups. I owe nobody except for the middle class and people that write in my name, Charles Earl Harvey. No reason I can't be president of the United States. I'm very, very capable. You have to remember that the individual president of the United States does not run the country himself. He has a staff of experts in different disciplines and fields. I seek answers. I use the resources available. I hire the right people. What is important is that I'm running for you, really you. I'm a presidential candidate that has completely different. I had an abusive background, which was an interesting experience as a kid that made me tougher. I've been homeless. I've been hungry. I've been to the bottom and picked myself up. I've accomplished a lot in my life coming from Skid Row, over 32 years ago. No other president can even claim that. And all I need is about 60 million write-ins. 60 million write-ins. And it could be done if everybody emailed everybody each other and gave me a chance. If you're not happy, the majority of people aren't happy with me and I'm not doing the job, I'll be happy to step down and have the second runner-up take my position. Obama had 69 million votes for him and 60 million for McCain. And about you had about, oh, I'd say 57% of the eligible voters voted in 2008. So if I could get a large portion of that voting for me, I promise you we'd make a great difference. Another thing I find very, very interesting is that, term limit amendment in the U.S. Constitution. What is that? That's Section 12, Amendment 12, Section 1, ratified February of 1951. Term limits: no person shall be elected to the office of the president more than twice, and no person who has held the office of president or acted as president for more than 2 years of a term to which some other person was elected president shall be elected to the office of the president more than once. Well, it's interesting because the person that most all of them are new as president, it takes them 2 years just to kick off their training wheels. Then the next 2 years of their first term is out raising money, spending time to be reelected again for the second term. It's just ludicrous. Out there campaigning the last 2 years from special interest groups and people with all the money that think they know who should run the United States. This time it should be me. If you have any doubts, write me questions. I will be glad to share my decisions, my opinions. Okay? Because if you look, and of course, the debt alone, all these presidents we've had in the last 50 years, the U.S. debt has risen straight up since 1970. The federal government deficit ending fiscal year 2006 was $8.5 trillion and climbing. That's $574 billion higher than last year. The national debt has continued to increase an average of $1.50 billion per day since September of 2006. The estimate population in the United States is 300,889,395. Well, so that means each of you citizens' share of the debt is a mere, $29,917.69. So please write a check out and we will be out of debt. Federal budget, the United States federal budget, the 30-year historical average federal tax receipts are 18.4% of the GDP. And as a result, nearly 50% of that is in interest payments. The unemployment, the median amount of time of employment is higher today than any other time in the last 5 decades. Actually, it's more than twice as high as today at any time in the past 50 years. It's from 4% to 12.9%. If you want to see the states of condition of unemployment across the U.S., go to my webpage, Charles Harvey for President.com. And under the news section, you will see a web page, which is basically, applicant.com, the state of unemployment across U.S. But it's quite long and lengthy, but it breaks down every state on its economical profile. I think you'll find it interesting. Now, with all these presidents who have all these backgrounds as lawyers and governors and allegedly great experience to be president, education, the public schools lack behind the school of other developed countries. U.S. 12th graders ranked 19th in math, 16th in science, and last, of course, in advanced physics. The United States is no longer the world's leader in secondary education, according to the ranking of an international organization. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development places the United States 18th among 36 nations examined. And that's USA Today report reported that. The last 50 years, illegal immigration. You know, to give you an idea, do you know that there was nearly, what was it, 580,000 arrests of illegal immigrants just in Arizona last year? That's phenomenal. Immigration will cause the population, it is said, to double in about 50 years. Obama administration has said its immigration policies are working to keep out illegal immigrants. And a study released by the Pew Hispanic Center today confirms that illegal immigration is down. The study found about 11.1 million illegal immigrants were in the country in March of 2009, down from a peak of 12 million in March 2007. And they're bragging at the decrease. Well, let's see. How's the job availability been from the year 2007? That give you some idea why it's down? But the quagmire about this is that, you know, I find it interesting that approximately 700,000 Mexicans cross legally in the United States every day to shop and work, returning at night to their home in Mexico. So there's the challenge of, you know, if we close the borders and we stop all immigrations, it'll affect our economy. But I don't think that's a point. But for you that have been around and you that haven't been around for the last 50 years, start reading, doing research. United States of America and its foreign policy, and here in the United States, it's got worse downhill for the last 50 years. So I really don't want to hear about all these qualified presidents that are supposed to make a difference. Put me in and you will see a difference, because I am an American that doesn't come from the upper class, does not come with a golden spoon or silver spoon in my mouth, who comes as the average American that loves and cares for the Americans and will give his life and all to make the United States a better country. Thank you. This is Charles Harvey. The rest of the story, page 3.